Greetings on behalf of Secretary Vilsack and really everybody at USDA. It's so good to be home. I make my home here in Bismarck, and of course I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but Basin Electric is a wonderful organization, and I've always known that. But I got to tell you, from spending some time in DC now and talking regionally with folks, the level of respect that there is out there for what you do shouldn't be underestimated. So that's something you should be incredibly proud of. Thank you to Paul Sukit for your leadership, for inviting me today. Thank you to the board of directors, and thank you to each and every one of you for what you do on behalf of rural America. My name is Jasper Schneider, and for the past month or so, I've been the acting RUS administrator. And here's what I've learned in just a little bit over a month in being in Washington. There's a thing out there in DC where the shorter your title, the more important that you are, right? And so if you're a senator or a congressman, like Senator Hoeven or Senator Heitkamp, you're a pretty big deal, right? But when you're in my shoes and your title is the acting administrator for the United States Department of Agriculture's Rural Development, Rural Utility Service, you sort of know where you fall in the pecking order. In all seriousness, though, it's been an absolute honor to be at the helm of a federal agency that makes such a tremendous impact in the lives of so many across rural America. And also to be working at an agency that has such deep roots with Basin Electric. Basin Electric is one of our top borrowers in our electric program, and there's so many things that we do well. Being from a state like North Dakota, we're also a strong RUS state. 98% of our geographic area falls into a rural electric service area, rural telecom, a rural water district. And so what we do in building out North Dakota is so synonymous with the important work that we do at RUS. So a little bit more about me. Prior to a month ago, for the past 5 years, I've been the state director of USDA Rural Development here in North Dakota. And it's been an incredibly exciting time to have that role with all of that's happening across our state and to keep up with industry and population growth. I'm married. My wife and I live here in Bismarck. We've got 4 wonderful children. Prior to joining USDA 5 years ago, I was in the North Dakota legislature, had a law practice. Also am a proud REC member with Capital Electric Cooperative right here in Bismarck. So one of the things that we do at USDA is, like so many other entities, we release an annual progress report. And a few months ago, I was traveling the state, releasing this progress report, meeting with press partners, showing the public where these important resources at USDA are going. And so I sat down with an editor of one of our state's largest newspapers, and I walked in and hot off the press and showed him our fancy new shiny progress report. He sat down, started thumbing through it for a minute, and after a minute or so, handed it back to me and said, "You know, Jasper, I made a decision a long time ago that people should just live in cities." He said, "Don't get me wrong, I love the countryside, but I don't think folks should live out there and expect the same level of amenities that you get in a big city." And so I took a deep breath and then explained to him the importance of rural America. And after going through that spiel, he looked at me and said, "Well, I don't agree with anything you just told me, but I promise not to write anything bad about you." And so I share that with you because we know that particular person just didn't understand the important synergy that there is between rural America and urban America, the importance that rural America plays. The fact that the bedrock of this nation's values lies in rural America. The fact that rural America produces most of the food that this great country consumes and most of the energy that we all utilize. And thankfully, we've had policymakers that have backed that up with strategy really since the beginning of our countryhood. You think back to what was probably the original rural development project, which was the Homestead Act, which was basically the federal government saying, let's push the map to the west, let's make sure that people go out, use the land, cultivate the land, build homes, start families, start cities. We have policymakers that have understood that if you're going to have a United States of America, that you have to have a connected America. And so they made policy that said, let's connect this great country from ocean to ocean by rail. Let's start the Rural Electrification Act to connect every part of this great country with stable, affordable electricity. The Rural Telephone Act, the interstate system. And then what's happening today with 21st century infrastructure and building a smarter grid and deploying high-speed broadband internet. And I share that with you because you as cooperatives and Basin Electric have been at the forefront of so many of those efforts, and really in the true cooperative spirit have tackled issues together cooperatively that really couldn't have been solved on their own. And in that process, you've also had a strong partner at USDA. It's been my pleasure for the past 5 years to be the state director here in North Dakota, and in each of your respective states also have my counterparts. And the good work that we've done in cooperation with you has really helped build out the opportunities in rural America. Just in the past 5 years alone, here in North Dakota, USDA Rural Development has contributed about $3 billion to building out our infrastructure. About $750 million of that alone to the Basin to support industry and population growth. So it's been a strong partnership that has gone back a long ways. Let me just share with you a couple of observations I have about the Rural Utility Service. Keep in mind, I'm a North Dakota guy and I've only been out in DC 1 month. But here's what I know. At RUS, in many ways, we need to make sure that we get back to the basics and making sure that what we do is the things that we do well, and that's financing essential infrastructure, lines, poles, and substations. The other thing we need to do in getting back to the basics is making sure that we're moving quickly on so much of that's happening right now with 111D, with 1970, with NEPA, to make sure that we're seizing the opportunity and not squandering an opportunity to make sure we're protecting our portfolio, protecting our borrowers, protecting rural America. And so that's my top priority. And we're going to do that by a couple of different ways. My biggest internal goal is to make sure that we get fully staffed. As you know, all of federal government's been dealt some pretty tough budgets the last couple of years, which has resulted in a significant reduction in our federal workforce. The good news is that we actually have the authority in our electric program to hire about 25 new people. So my top internal commitment to you is to make sure that in the next couple of quarters that we get fully staffed. And as we build out our capacity internally, that's good for you. That increases our timeliness, our responsiveness to your needs, making sure that our general field reps stay local to our borrowers. So that's my biggest internal goal. My external goal is to make sure that we're re-engaging and over-engaging our best partners. And that would be the RECs and folks like Basin Electric, who are one of our top borrowers in the electric program. And we need to make sure that as you are evolving to a 21st century organization, that we're growing with you and not growing apart. And so I announced a few weeks ago at the regional meetings in Little Rock and Omaha that sometime before the end of the year, and it looks like it's probably going to be the first or second week in December, we are going to convene a meeting in Washington likely with some of RUS's top borrowers, with some of the smartest managers, directors, statewide associations, working with NREAC to make sure that we're listening to your concerns. And not just listening to your concerns, but hearing them, whether they have to do with our timeliness, whether they have to do with environmental concerns, uncertainty with different regulations, our Office of General Counsel, whatever they may be, we need to make sure that we're listening and hearing what's on your mind. And so we're going to have that meeting sometime in the near future. And so I think those two things will fundamentally help us get on track at RUS to make sure that we're being responsive to your needs and that we continue our deep relationship that we have together. And so let me just close with this. I think that it's an incredibly exciting time to be involved with rural development and being involved with rural America. Never before has rural America had so many opportunities in front of it. The fact that you can live in most parts of this great country and have access to affordable electricity, clean water, and access to a high-speed broadband internet connection, those three things are fundamentally going to change the way that rural America lives, works, and does business for generations to come. And you deserve a lot of that credit, and cooperatives have been there every step of the way. And so what I would challenge you to do is keep challenging yourselves to keep growing, because this country needs strong rural electric cooperatives. This country needs a strong Basin Electric, and this country also needs a strong RUS. And you've got my commitment to keep working on those things for however long I'm in this role. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. Appreciate it. Thanks.